right. Hello and welcome everyone to today's webinar focusing on the importance of security awareness training and phishing. My name is Andrew and I'm from Phin Security. The focus of today's presentation is to be informative, so if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. There will also be a dedicated time at the end of today's webinar to function as a Q&A session. So without further ado, let's get started. So for the itinerary today, just going to be glazing over what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to cover what is cybersecurity, why should you care about it, are you at risk, why is it important, or why is security awareness training important, I should say, and we'll use that acronym a lot, SAT. What is phishing, and how does Phin do security awareness training? What does that experience look like? And then Q&A at the end, of course. So I think it's important that we establish a definition for cybersecurity. And so we have here safeguarding networks, devices, and data from unauthorized access, like, in this example, protecting your treasure from pirates, right? And so it ensures that you are able to maintain a really solid amount of data integrity and keep it away from the bad guys that are out there trying to steal it, right? And so, why is it applicable to you? Why should you care about it, right? And I think there's several reasons why. I think just in general, there's an increasing amount of sophistication around cyber attacks. It used to be as simple as a phishing attempt from, someone claiming to be a Nigerian prince, right? And that is still happening, but there are a lot more sophisticated cyber attacks happening just beyond that classic example, right? And so I think it's important with those increasing amounts of sophistication needs to come increasing training and security awareness around those things, right? And so additionally, to kind of add another layer on top of that, we're seeing more and more sensitive data stored in an online environment, such as in a cloud environment, movements from on-premise environments to the cloud in the last 5, 10, 15 years, right? And so lots of data available to those who are trying to take it. And so in addition to that, lots of different sophistication around trying to take all that data as well. So two really important points there that really make it appealing for hackers to try and go after your data. And then I think just some other smaller things like increasing amount of connectivity to public Wi-Fi, things like just not keeping your software up to date, not using multi-factor authentication. Those are things that can really help you protect your data from cyber criminals. So again, very important that you're taking advantage of those things and updating software regularly, using a password manager, using multi-factor authentication. And we'll talk more about cyber tips as we go, but just those are a few key things of how to keep your data and your company's data safe as well. So here's just some questions that if you answer yes to any of these, right, like you might be at risk for a cyber attack. And I think pretty much everyone would answer yes to at least one of these. So really it's applicable to everyone. And that's really just what this is trying to show here. And like I said, if you answered yes to any of these, at least one, you will probably be at risk for a cyber attack. And so on that kind of same side of thinking, have you ever asked yourself, is this real? Should I click on this? Should I take the bait? Is this, something that I need to deal with? It seems very urgent, right? This is an email that I'm getting and has a lot of urgency and things I need to do for it, right? I think a lot of people encounter that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, just depending on the person and the company, right? So something to definitely be aware of as you're going through that. And as you ask yourself that question, the goal of SAT or security awareness training is to help you answer those questions and help you answer them confidently. It gives you the tools and knowledge necessarily to have that good cybersecurity awareness, or as we like to call it, cybersecurity IQ, having the ability to recognize what is a threat and proper ways to report that threat and make sure that you do not fall victim to that threat and risk compromising your data as well as the company's data as well. So now we've touched on cybersecurity as a whole, right? And then moving into the security awareness training side and why it's important. As I just mentioned, actually, it raises your cybersecurity IQ, makes you less likely to fall victim to a cyber attack. helps maintain your data, keep it safe and secure. It might be applicable to you because you might have compliance requirements. Your company might have requirements to take security awareness training in order to stay up to date on all of those cyber threats that I mentioned earlier. Your company might need it for cyber insurance as well. So a lot of ways that it's becoming very standard and regular in this, a workplace. So lots of different ways that you might find it, in a monthly cadence, or maybe even more frequent than that, where you're taking some sort of security awareness training. So you can see some statistics right here. I won't go through all of these, but you can see some of these here. I think the important thing to remember is that this human element, especially in that first bullet point there, a lot of these come from people just simply clicking on a phishing email. You can have all the fancy firewalls and antivirus out there, right? But all it takes is one phishing email to get through all that and be clicked by a user or an employee at your company to fall victim to that. And so, you can see that that is a huge driver to that with some of these statistics here, I should say. And I think a lot of mindsets around cybersecurity have been a little bit outdated to this point. I think it's not enough to basically say, "Hey, this is a problem for our IT team; they'll handle it." The reality is that, as I just mentioned, human error is involved in a lot of these in terms of giving away data, clicking on phishing emails. And so it's important that you kind of play your part in terms of cybersecurity, keeping your data, your company's data safe. Otherwise, the hackers will find their way to you and ultimately get what they want if you don't have that cyber knowledge, cyber awareness to prevent that. And so these are some, kind of outdated and some that, have changed over time, if you will. And so, looking at an example here, so this is one that I always like to kind of reference as like the classic phishing example, right? So this is from Arthur Treadwell, and I'll just kind of quickly read through this. I'm writing this message to you with sadness. I traveled to London for a short vacation, and unfortunately, I was mugged. All of my credit cards, cash, and cell phone were taken. I've gone to the embassy, but help will be weeks away. My flight leaves in 8 hours. Can you loan me $2,000 so that I can make my flight? And so I think we've seen, again, this classic example of someone's in trouble, they're reaching out to you for help to do something, and it's very emotional. They're writing this message to you with sadness, they were mugged, and it's very urgent, it's time bound, their flight leaves in 8 hours. And so, this is, again, the classic example to get you to act before you think or talk to anyone else, right? And so, this is continuously still happening, but it's also evolved so much more than this as well. I think it's relatively easy to spot some of these as phishing emails, right? It's easy to verify with the source, with Arthur directly, if you don't recognize the email address that he's sending it from. And so, but there's lots of other methods that are currently out there, like I said. And so that's just one kind of classic example that I think a lot of people are familiar with, either to their email or text or WhatsApp. But again, we'll kind of get into more of the specific types of phishing attempts as we go. So this is a great exercise. So this is a QR code that is legitimate, that you can actually scan and be brought into a environment that has you inspect 8 emails, and you have to decide if it's legitimate or if it's phishing. So it'll have you enter your name, email. You can make all this up. It's just so it appears in the template. But I encourage anyone watching this to go ahead and take that. It's a very short exercise. And I'm curious how you do, because it's not easy to spot a phishing email in today's environment. There are a lot of subtle nuances that hackers employ on a regular basis to make you fall for the phishing attempt. And so definitely encourage you, like I said, if you're watching this, to take this. And I'm curious how it goes, because I know for us at Phin Security, including myself, not everyone got 100% of the answers correct, and we deal with cybersecurity and phishing on a daily basis. So it's definitely something that is changing, evolving, and growing a lot more sophisticated, as I mentioned earlier. All right, so now I'll just kind of quickly dive into some of the most common types of phishing attempts. So the first one, most common one, of course, is email phishing. And I've already alluded to this several times. We've seen an example. But again, this is just doing exactly what that email from Arthur Treadwell, in the last couple of slides did, where someone's reaching out to you to try and get your data in some type of way, get you to click a link, download an attachment, send you money, give you their, give them your financial information, I should say. And so, sometimes they'll mimic someone else, someone et cetera. But that is actually where spear phishing comes into play. And so this is a bit more targeted and sophisticated, where they target a specific person. It's not just a mass email that's sent out. They might have access to your personal information, utilize it to seem more legitimate, to establish that credibility with you. And a lot of times, this personal information is not coming from some secure database. This is stuff coming from Facebook, from LinkedIn, what schools you attended, where you live, your family members, things like that. And so they utilize this email this information to seem more legitimate in the email, gain that trust, and get you to do something that will benefit the hacker, right? Then we have QR code phishing or kishing. And so this is a more subtle type of cyber attack where a QR code or what looks like a QR code is placed in an email, a text message, social media, or posted publicly, and it takes you somewhere malicious or has you download something malicious. The example I always like to share is if you're parking your car and it's scanning a QR code at the front to pay for your parking. Cyber criminals have been known to place their malicious QR code over the legitimate QR code, taking you to a malicious website. You might also be entering in your credit card information. And on top of that, you're probably not paying for parking. So you might be getting ticketed or towed or booted, if you will. So something to definitely keep an eye on. I know the first time I heard that example, it really, I'm always going to think about that when I'm in that situation. So something to keep at the top of mind, but that's just an example of the sophistication that's out there. You would probably never think of that had you not heard that example, right? And then we have angler phishing. And so this is a newer type of cyber attack that targets social media users. And so this might be, a cyber criminal impersonating someone for a bigger company that's out there trying to, give you a free gift card or get you to write a review on this link, right? And so this is obviously not legitimate. If someone targets you in this way, I would be very hesitant to, click on anything without investigating further. So be wary of these types of attacks. They're definitely becoming more popular in the online social media environment. Then we have smishing and vishing. And so this is a type of cyber attack that is done instead of through email, it's done through SMS or phone calls, right? And so they attempt to mimic someone or an entity. And then they typically, I think a lot of people are familiar with this one. They'll sometimes start off with like a hi or hello and get you to kind of have a Discord back and forth, and then go ask you to buy some gift cards or download a link or help their friend raise money for something, right? And so it usually starts off not immediately with that call to action. Like we saw in the email, the call to action is immediate, one email. With text messages, it's usually a couple messages in, they're gaining that trust, they're trying to, get you to understand their situation. And then is when they will hit you with the call to action, whatever it is they want you to do for them, right? So this is very common. This is a very common way that people lose their data, lose funds, right? Something to keep an eye out for. Then we also have whaling, and this is a little bit more targeted spear phishing attack that is exclusively aimed at high-level executives, where these attacks are very personalized and will impersonate a peer, equal, or high-level colleague within that target's organization. And so it's very common that executives fall victim to this, right? And they're definitely in a very compromised position if they do fall victim to it, of course. So. And so those are some of the examples of phishing, the most common types of examples of phishing. Hopefully some of that was a little bit eye-opening. But that's really the goal of security awareness training, kind of moving into that area, is to bring these examples, bring these situations and things to look for to light, and have that education for you. So like I said earlier, you have that good cybersecurity IQ and cybersecurity awareness going forward. And so It's kind of changed over time in terms of what it used to look like. It used to be maybe a long day of training, maybe instructor led, 8 hours. Someone would come in and teach you all of this stuff. And then, because it's annual, you probably forget it after 3, 4 months, maybe even a couple weeks, honestly. And so, not the most effective form because it wasn't very exciting most of the time, right? And so, there's also been in office methods like posters, security awareness emails. It might be like a policy, something like that, but they're not really engaging or effective, and they're pretty bland a lot of times, right? Um, the goal of security awareness training today is essentially to be the opposite of that. It's supposed to be shorter, a lot more easily digestible, 5 to 10 minutes once a month, maybe, and it's effective. It gets the point across. It tells the point, and then you answer a couple of questions. It moves on. You can move on with the rest of your day. And there's a lot of different topics, learning styles, ways to keep it engaging, interactive, and sometimes even fun, really. And so that's what security awareness training aims to be today. A huge shift into what the experience used to look like. A lot easier now with the ability to have on-demand training modules and other methods like phishing simulated emails that we will actually go through right now. And so if you are a user with Phin, I'll kind of walk you through what that experience would look like. And so, as I mentioned, there's many companies out there that are trying to make security awareness training more fun, and Phin, I think, does a really good job of that. So we'll kind of walk through what that looks like. And so with Phin, if you're a user, we do not only training course modules, kind of the traditional, security awareness training you would think of when you think of security awareness training, but we also do phishing simulated emails where you're sent a very realistic email, basically simulating what the bad guys out there are doing. So, some look like this. This is an example of a Zoom meeting reminder, right? And you can see a lot of different things here. It's very realistic. It establishes that sense of urgency. The subject heading is meeting reminder. It's from participants are waiting there at the top. It has lots of links to click to join, add it to your calendar, to cancel it. So lots of actions there. Wants you to take action as quickly as possible, establish that urgency and get you to act. And you can see there at the top, it says hi, first name, last name. That's actually not an accident. It's by design. We're trying to simulate what the bad guys are doing. And oftentimes hackers will send a template out to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of users out there, and just try and get 3 or 4 to click that link and get them to do what they want to do, and get that data out there. And so it's kind of this mass email sending is one method of doing it. And so that's, by design, is that they're hoping that you miss that high first name, last name. But for this, in this simulation, that's a clue that, hey, this is not legitimate. Other, indications, right, are the email domain is not, from Zoom. It's at messagesnotificationhandler.com, right? And so we'll go over that more as we go, but we use a lot of different templates, not just Zoom, Google. They're familiar brands and applications that you use on a daily basis, and they can be targeted as well based on the applications you do use, the coworkers you have, etc. So lots of options. Essentially, what we're trying to do is make it as real of a simulation as possible, so that you're prepared when you're met with that situation in real life, right? And so you might be wondering what happens if you actually click on one of those links in the email. Well, if you do, you're taken to what's called a learning moment. And a learning moment is a really great opportunity to learn what you could have done differently to avoid clicking that exact link in the email. And so it walks you through a series of helpful tips and kind of show you, with the email, here's what you could have, looked for in order to avoid clicking the link in this email. So you don't run into that situation again. You don't click the link in future emails, not only in the phishing simulations, but when it comes to real time as well. So a lot of that, right, is, as I just mentioned, check who it's from, the sending domain, as we call it, right? Like, who's that actually coming from? Does it match who it's saying it's coming from? Check for suspicious images, see if those look kind of off in any way. That doesn't really look like the FedEx logo. Maybe it's not from them, right? Hover over links to see where they take you before you click on them is one of the biggest ones. There'll be like a link preview in the bottom left corner, kind of showing, hey, this is where this link is going. And then just checking for generally, does this seem off? What doesn't make sense, right? With the Arthur Treadwell example from earlier, it's interesting that he needed $2,000 so that he can make his flight in 8 hours, like it already wasn't booked. So that's kind of a weird, uh, you know, ask from someone. So just things that don't make sense like that. And so the learning moments, they're very custom. They kind of take you through all that in real time and show you, again, exactly what you could have done differently to avoid clicking that. So that's the phishing simulated email side. On the other side, we also have security awareness training videos. And these are great. They're very straightforward. You get what is a training assignment notification sent right to your email that looks just like this on the right here. And it shows you the course that's assigned to you. The really great thing is all you do is click to view. You don't need to create an account. You don't need to remember another login. Just access your dashboard by clicking that training reminder email, and then you can see everything that's assigned to you, everything that you've completed, or just all of it. So very straightforward, easy to use. And the really cool thing is 90% of our content is actually 5 minutes or less, followed by just a couple of questions to check for understanding. And then, outside of that, I think 5% are 10 minutes, and then there are a couple modules that are 20 to 40 minutes. So really, not a huge lift here. You can do it on a cadence that works for you. Work with your managed services IT provider to get that cadence going. But most of the time, it's once a month, 5 minutes a month. Go do it. Move on with the rest of your day, right? And you're retaining the information as you go, because the great thing about our content is we curate from 6 different content providers. We have a ton of different learning styles, like lecture, whiteboard style, animated, some really cool kind of innovations coming from the security awareness training side of things. So that's training. We've covered, the phishing simulated emails, the security awareness training modules, and now we also have fully automated reporting as well. So if you're a decision maker at your company, this part is for you. We have the option for you to receive a PDF report on a weekly or a monthly basis, so you can see the exact progress of who's clicking on phishing emails, who's not, what's the progress like there. Is everyone completing their training? Is everyone up to date on that? And then kind of compares that progress month over month in this executive summary style section where it assigns a letter grade based on that progress. And then you can see it compared to a previous month there as well. And so lots of different graphs as well to show that progress. Users to watch that will highlight users who have either clicked on a phishing email or who are not up to date on training, or both, and show them in this table here. And then historical data for the users for the last 12 months. So very easy to kind of keep a solid record of everything and a record of training as you go. Awesome. And so as we get close to the end here, I want to encourage any questions in the chat here. This is a really great time to do it. But before we get to that, I want to come back to this kind of analogy that we have. And so security awareness training is kind of like protecting your ship, right? With this kind of cyber seas theme that we have here. And so you can have the strongest ship, but if someone leaves the hatch door open, water can flood in. And so it's very cliche, but security awareness training helps your team keep your data safe from other people's, preventing a cyber attack from stealing your data. And so, like I said earlier, you can have all the fanciest firewalls, antivirus, but all it takes is one phishing email to get through, and that being clicked on for a huge cost to your business, your data, that can all be compromised at a moment's notice. And many businesses have shut down because of that. And so it's very important to have that education, have that knowledge. The IT team, your managed service provider can only do so much. It's also up to the employees to have that good cyber awareness. So definitely wanted to leave you with that final message. And again, security awareness training helps you do that. Okay, I don't see any questions in the chat, so I will assume that there are none for the time being. But again, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us as Phin Security. We'd love to have a conversation about cybersecurity and all things phishing and training and the threats that are out there, right? And then also reach out to your managed service provider or IT provider as well, and just have a conversation. If you're not doing security awareness training, talk to them about getting that started. It's really going to benefit you in the long run, even if you don't see an immediate benefit. Trust me, there are a bunch in the short and long term. So definitely get that conversation going, and we will look forward to hearing from you again soon. And so thank you very much so much for watching this video. We really appreciate it. Like I said, reach out to us with any questions, and have a great rest of your day. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.